I'm Lisa Weiss, and I own and operate the Wine Cellar Company outside the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And together with my manufacturer, we have over 20 years of experience in the wine cellar industry. So why don't you come join me and we'll talk about all the important aspects of building your custom wine cellar. Come on. Designing and building a wine cellar can be lots of fun, but everybody has different taste. What you want to think about is your cellar going to be for entertainment purposes? Are you going to come down and taste wine in your cellar? So all of these things that we're going to talk about right now are something you need to consider in building your wine cellar. First, I would recommend talking to someone locally about your wine cellar. There are always people on the internet that you can talk to, and you can go to how-to sites. But I would recommend having someone locally. And these are all the things that you want to consider in speaking with them about your custom wine cellar. You want to think about what type of bottle that you like to buy. Do you like to buy cases? Do you like to buy individual or just a few bottles of wine at a time? For example, if you like to buy by cases, you might want a wine cellar that has multiple storage, like the diamond bins, for example. These hold up to 12 bottles and possibly more. You can do diamond cubes, rectangular bins. All those are examples of multiple bottle storage. Some people like the traditional look of individuals. Those are good if you'd like to purchase just a few bottles of wine at a time. Some people like to display their labels. That's important when you're talking to your wine cellar professional. Another thing to consider is what type of bottle do you buy? Do you buy the standard type bottle, the Burgundy or the Bordeaux? Or do you buy a bigger bottle? Do you like Magnums, Jeroboams? Some wine enthusiasts even like the Nebuchadnezzar. But all of those type wine bottles make a difference in how you build your wine cellar. These days, different vineyards are making wine bottles a little bit bigger. Sometimes your champagne comes a little bit larger. So all those things are really important and can become crucial in your custom wine cellar. Some other things to consider when building your custom wine cellar is, do you want to take a more functional approach to your cellar, or would you like to entertain there? All those things make a difference. If you want to have a functional approach, or if you want to entertain, you need a certain amount of space. But for functional and a small cellar, you really need at least 3.5 feet on one wall to be able to have the depth if you want to include refrigeration and racking and the ability to walk in and sneak and get a bottle. But of course, you can have wine cellars that are very large as well. But just a reminder that you need at least 3.5 feet in depth. In terms of entertaining, if you're going to have a tasting room, would you like that to be outside your chilled environment, or would you like it to be all in one room itself? All those things make a difference. Whether you'd like a tabletop, are you going to be serving wine in your wine cellar? Some other things to consider: would you like to also store other items, wine cellar accessories, glasses, or perhaps some other bottles of liquor? Would you like to store cigars? Those things can all make a difference to your designer when they take a look at your wine cellar and consider what type of racking you'd like. In determining the type of wood for your wine cellar, traditionally wine cellars are built in redwood. This is a great wood because it handles moisture very well. But you also have other options: cherry, mahogany, oak, maple, and many other special woods. A lot of people choose to use unfinished wood, but you have the ability to stain it any color as well as lacquer. The only type of wood that you might not want to use is cedar because of the scent. And sometimes that scent can get into the wine bottle, and some people claim that it makes the wine taste a little differently. So you really have a lot of options of wood, but I would steer clear of cedar. When you get to the part when you want to determine what type of lighting you want, you have a couple different options. You can use recessed lighting, you can have a chandelier. It's always nice to have a dimmer in your cellar. Many times you'd like to have a more low light environment, but just in case, you like to have that dimmer in case you want to be able to read the labels and you don't have much light in your cellar. You also have the ability to use lighting for display. Many times we've used xenon lighting or LED lighting. But the most important thing to remember is that if you do not have refrigeration in your cellar, you want to keep lighting to a minimum so that it doesn't increase the heat in your cellar. In terms of flooring, once again, your options are very open. Most people use stone or some type of tile. You do have the ability to use wood. Some people use concrete. But once again, the option is based on what you want your decor to look like, so you don't have too many limitations there. Let's take a moment and talk about glass in your wine cellar. A lot of people like to use glass doors and glass windows. You can use glass doors and windows, but there's just a few things that you need to know about that. First, it needs to be tempered glass. You need to have a double pane because of the difference of the temperature inside the cellar versus outside the cellar. This also goes for your windows as well. Another thing to consider when you do have a window and when you do have a door, that really you need to bump up the BTUs on your cooling system, so that when you order a cooling system and you calculate your cubic space in your area to determine what size cooling unit you need, you might need to bump it up to the next level if you have a glass window and a glass door. All those things are things that you want to consider when using glass.